Hello, this is a tutorial for how to work German short rows without having to turn the work. This involves knitting backwards instead of purling on the wrong side, but I will get onto that in a moment. Normally German short rows are created by turning the work partway through the GSR manoeuvre, and so you can purl back on the other side until you get to where you want to do another GSR, German short row, which would involve another turn, so you can start knitting again on the right side of the work. But it is possible to do it without turning the work at all, and this is great for things that have very short rows where you're going to be doing lots of GSRs and you don't want to have to be turning the work again and again and again, which just slows everything down. So I'm just going to knit along to the point where I want to create my first German short row for this video, and I'm nearly there. You can see I've got, oh, here I am already. I've already done a couple. You can see these crazy distorted stitches here, which if you've done German short rows before, you'll be familiar with. If not, I'll explain more about those as we get to them. So the first stage in the German short row without turning the work is to knit one stitch. I'm sure I don't need to remind any of you how to do that. Stage 2 involves slipping this stitch that you've just worked back from the right needle over to the left, and you slip it purlwise, and for this particular way it's a lot easier if you slide the needle in with the point of the left needle coming to the back of the work. At that point we pull on that working yarn up, which distorts the purl bump below, and we wrap the yarn around the needle and take it back to the back of the work, and then slide the right needle out of it. That's it. You've done it. What we've done, as you can see here, we've pulled the purl bump from the other side over, so we've got these two strands, one either side of the purl bump there, on top of the needle, and what that does is it gives us this GSR double stitch, which we can work into later. We didn't need to turn the work, we didn't need to do anything at all. Don't worry, I'll show you how to do that one more time when we get to that stage, because I know it was rather quick. In order to get across to the other side, normally we would have turned the work by now and would be purling across the wrong side of the row, but this of course is all done on the right side, so we now need to knit backwards, or KBB as I like to refer to it. And to do that, what we do is as follows. We insert the tip of the left needle into the back loop of the next stitch on the right needle. So instead of what looks like either coming in like a purl stitch or trying to go through this front loop here, we go in through the back loop there. Wrap the yarn around the needle, draw the loop through towards us with the tip of the left needle doing all the work, and slip it off the right needle. Once again, in through the back loop, wrap the yarn. It can be a little bit fiddly, and I'm trying to do this on camera, which is why it looks a bit klutzy. Draw the loop through and slip off the right needle. So it is just a mirror image of creating a purl stitch. It feels a bit like doing a knit stitch mirrored, but that first stage there is the bit that's tricky, or not tricky at all, but slightly different. You go in through the back loop, you wrap the yarn around, draw it through, and slip it off. So the steps are pretty much the same. It's still through, round, under, and off. You're just working back in the opposite direction. You do get into a rhythm almost as slick as your normal knitting. Now here I am at the point where I want to create the next German short row. See, I've got some double stitches here, here, and here. So for the next one, what we're going to do is we're going to KBB one more stitch. It's really important that we start with the KBB, otherwise our short row will be in the wrong place, and slide that one out. Then the second stage of this one, and this is quite important, we need to bring the yarn to the front of the work before slipping the stitch from left needle to right. So we've done the KBB, and then we bring the yarn to the front before slipping the stitch back. Then all we need to do is yank upwards. You can see I'm just pulling with my finger there. Yank upwards on the working yarn, which takes it over the top of the needle to the back of the work, ready to continue knitting. That really is all there is to it. And you can see here we've got that distorted double stitch. It looks like two loops of yarn interlinked. Well, it looks like it because it is, over the top of the needle there. We'll come back to that in a minute and I'll show you how to deal with those when I've demonstrated a couple more times, one on each side. So now I'm just going to knit back to the other side of the row. Please note we haven't turned this work at all, and we're going to get ready to do one more GSR at the end of a knit stitch rather than at the end of a set of KBB stitches. So here we are, step 1 again, knit 1 stitch. Step 2, slip back from right to left, but leave the needles in there. Bring the yarn over the top, round the needle and back to the back of the work and slide the stitch off the right needle. And that's it, done. That really is it, done. I'm going to do that one more time for you because I know that looks like some kind of crazy sorcery. So all you do, you've done your knit 1, you slide the point of your left needle in to the needle, into the stitch, sorry, as if to slip it purlwise, but coming through at the back of the other one rather than bringing it to the front. You see the difference there? I'm still going into the stitch in the same direction, but the tip of the needle is coming up behind the right needle. Then I just take the yarn over the top and back to the back of the work and slide off the right needle, and that's it, done. Then we do some KBB to go back the other way. Again, inserting the needle in the same way that we did with that slipping actually, so it's all very nice and symmetrical. Wrap, draw through and slip off. A couple more times, in through the back loop, wrap, draw through and slip off. And do it one more time and then I can set up to do the GSR on this end. So this is at the end of a KBB line of stitches. So again, the first step is to do one more stitch of whatever it is you've been doing. If you're working knit stitches in this direction, you do one more knit stitch as stage 1. If you're working KBB stitches in this direction, you work one more KBB as your first stage of the GSR. On this side, of course, remember to bring the yarn to the front before slipping the stitch normally. Yank the yarn over the top to the back of the work and continue knitting. And that really is all there is to it. So what do you do when you come across those double stitches once you've finished your requisite number of short rows and you want to carry on knitting? Well, you can see here I've got to one of these crazy distorted double stitches. All you do is you treat that double stitch as if it were a single stitch. So I'm going to go into both of those loops that are on the front. I've got one loop there and one loop there. There you go. Just got into them. It's like a knit 2 together. You just go into both loops of the double stitch and it just entirely disappears. The next stitch is a normal knit stitch, but here again I can show you I've got my double stitch here. You can always sort of pull it up and down on the needle, rock it backwards and forwards to see exactly what's going on, and then you just go through both loops as if they were one single stitch and knit them together. Once again then, here you go. And there's another one, so I'm just going to go into that one, into both loops of course, knitting them together as if they're a single stitch. Now I could go to the end of the row, I'm not going to. What I want to do is show you how to deal with these. Again, this is in the method of KBB, so I'm not going to turn the work and purl back. I'm just going to, without doing any kind of short row maneuver there, I just want to get to the other side. So I shall KBB all the way back to those double stitches and show you how we deal with those. Here's the final KBB stitch before my double stitch at this end of the row. There we go, and can you see how that double stitch is showing up as two interlinked loops on the needle? Well, it's no different. We just treat them as if they're one single stitch. So to KBB through both of those loops, you just put the needle through the back loop there, wrap the yarn over the needle in an anti-clockwise direction exactly as you would normally, put it through and slip it off. I'll show you that one more time. There's one normal stitch in between, so I'll KBB that one. Apologies if it suddenly got very dark, I think it's about to rain. So here we go, there's my next double stitch. I'm just going to go in through the back loops of both of them together. Can you see how I've gone into both of those? Wrap the yarn around. Oop, that didn't take. Wrap the yarn around, draw the loop through, and there we are, all done. And you'll see it's very very, very invisible. It's a fantastic way of working short rows without leaving any holes and without having to do any turning or crazy shenanigans. Happy knitting!